Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts. On this Friday, we have made it to the end of the work week. And
Yes.
One common theme for those of us in the Midwest has been the wildfire smoke. But now areas towards the southeast are dealing with something similar but different.
Yeah, we've had, of course, the Sahara dust in the areas farther to the south. We could talk about that. We've also got a haze in New York City. As you take a live look there, Craig Herrera, one of our Fox weather meteorologists, sent us these pictures from New York City, likely taken from his palatial office. No, I don't know where he took it from, but they are taken. Oh, it actually does note that it was taken at the Fox Studios, 11211 Avenue of the Americas in New York City. Craig is one of our Fox weather meteorologists and just snapping the haze there from the wildfire smoke that is, it really been a problem for us. It is spreading to other parts of the Great Lakes, getting into the Northeast as well, because the fires that we talked about yesterday, massive area. I mean, this is a huge portion of land that is covered with this as well, and it's very remote. It's going to be very difficult for forest firefighters to really access that and get it under control in any big hurry. So I would anticipate talking about wildfire smoke for a while yet. We are talking about it again today, for example.
We are, and it's really interesting. A couple days ago, the National Weather Service, I'll just throw this out there real quick, actually, or the DNR, I should say, confirmed how many air quality alerts we've had so far this year, but then also in the last couple of years. And it was really interesting because we're comparing, what we've got right now to back a couple of years ago, 2023, during the summer. We had those multiple.
When you could smell it, and it was it was like smoking a cigarette
days.
every day. Yeah.
15 air quality alerts were issued in 2023, wildfire smoke related. That doesn't include anything when it comes to, ozone like we often see during the afternoons, during the
big
summer.
City pollution.
Right, exactly. So I just thought that was very interesting. And there were a couple other years, I believe maybe 2021, there were 7 air quality alerts that were issued because of wildfire smoke, but we've definitely seen it a little bit more in the last 5 years, which is just interesting with the fact that, the wildfire smoke out in California a lot of times doesn't drift this way every so often, but Canada is so close in proximity. And our winds are often from
the north and northwest. And sometimes the California wildfires, like you say, impact our weather, but it's not usually as significant because by the time it makes that long trek, particularly up over the mountainous regions there, it's so high aloft that it's not likely to mix down to the surface. Whereas Manitoba and Saskatchewan, Canada aren't, in a global sense, aren't that far away, and there are very few terrestrial obstructions, right? We're in the lakes, that doesn't hurt them at all. There's no big mountain ranges for them to go over, and this is pretty smoothly just flowing our way, both aloft and down at the surface here. In fact, of course, we had another air quality alert today. All right, I think it's time to jump into our big picture here, see if we can get rid of this smoke and other things. Get ready for the weekend.
Yeah, you can tell it's with us again, as we were just talking about. Here's our view in Milwaukee. So it is hazy once again. That air quality alert we'll have to check. It was set to expire at noon. I did not hear the printer go off again, which means I don't think another one was issued. But we clearly do still have the haze here at our local level and across much of the state of Wisconsin. Though it is a little better than previous days, you can see how we do still have a little bit at the surface near the Milwaukee area, a little bit more out towards the west, maybe just south of La Crosse, and then some thinner wildfire smoke up towards the north. But the good news, again, is we kind of loop our wildfire smoke map a little bit. You can tell that in each hour, this is looped over the last 3 hours, I believe, it has gotten a little better. So if we continue on that trend the rest of today, then later this afternoon we should hopefully shake some of this haze. Air quality is still in that moderate category. Again, not as bad as the last couple of days, but it is something to still watch out for heading into the rest of the day today. Of course, it is our Friday, where I'm sure everybody's going to want to spend at least a little bit of time outside. As I thought, the air quality alert was allowed to expire at noon here. You can see a few more spots down towards the south, though, under that, as well as northern Minnesota, a couple of spots under an air quality alert. So there are still pockets across the upper plains in the Great Lakes region that will still be dealing with not the greatest air quality the rest of today. Now, the other bigger picture, it is a bit unsettled across parts of the central as well as eastern U.S. We've got a cold front up towards the north of us, another system down towards the south that's going to really impact the East Coast today. You can see showers from New York State all the way down through about Arkansas, maybe northern Texas. There is a severe threat primarily south today. You can see portions of the Great Plains, or the South Central Plains, I should say, under both a slight as well as a couple of moderate risks out there, or enhanced risks, excuse me, in that orange color. And then the risk does extend through about the East Coast, those New England states, at least at a marginal level. There's not a ton of severe weather right now. In fact, our strongest area of thunderstorm activity and rain is actually weakened quite a bit in the last couple of hours. So now just south of St. Louis, that looks to be maybe some of the stronger activity, some of the heavier rainfall. Heavy rain is once again a big factor going forward today. These same spots that we feel like we have talked about for months now that have dealt with numerous rounds of severe weather with flash flooding, still under some flood watches at the very least, but you'll notice these little red boxes, those are flash flood warnings. So with that big area of rain that just pushed through in the last couple of hours, they have picked up a ton of rainfall. And notice too how some of those flood headlines now extend up towards the northeast too. New England states under flood watches, down towards the south a little bit more. We see a few more of those flash flood warnings. So there is some heavy rain out east and down towards the south of us. Now back closer to home, the state of Wisconsin, we're seeing some hazy sunshine in southern parts of the state, a little bit more cloud cover across central Wisconsin, and then far northwestern parts of our state on into Minnesota, seeing some showers, potentially a few rumbles of thunder. Most of us towards the south today are going to stay dry, and same with Saturday, but by Sunday, that rain chance does increase. So a statewide view of going forward today, you can see a couple of scattered showers up towards the north. Can't rule out a few in our inland areas, even down towards the south later on this evening, but most of us are going to be dry with that mix of clouds and sunshine, of course, adding in more of that wildfire smoke and haze though. Saturday, kind of the same story. We'll still see a little bit of cloud cover, mix of clouds and sunshine with an area of rain primarily staying north of us, south of us, and then a couple more showers up towards the north. So we're right there in the middle. Most of our Saturday looks to be dry in central and southern Wisconsin. May see what's south of us push its way across the Wisconsin-Illinois border early Sunday morning, bringing a few showers to maybe the Milwaukee area. Otherwise, we'll likely see a line of showers and thunderstorms rolling throughout the afternoon and evening hours, with maybe a few lingering thunderstorms later Sunday night as well. And even Monday, some wraparound moisture will likely move right back in, kind of what you're seeing up towards the northwest into our area, likely Monday afternoon. So potentially a dry start, but then some of that wraparound moisture making its way on in, heading into your evening hours. Now let's talk temperatures, because it is decently warm across much of the U.S. Even the spots that are dealing with the thunderstorm activity, these numbers are still pretty warm for this time of year. 90s towards the south, triple digits towards the southwest. And then as you get towards the north, even the upper plains, those numbers are pretty nice for this time of year with highs in the 70s. We are going to cool a little bit in the coming days, but then looking ahead already to next week, especially by the middle of next week, temperatures do look to rise across much of the U.S., including the upper plains. As for temperatures today, we've got a lot of 70s in the forecast. It is going to be cooler near Lake Michigan. We'll have that onshore flow. It's going to be a light northeast wind, but still enough to keep us a little bit cooler. And then northern Wisconsin cooler because of some of the scattered showers that will likely continue throughout the day today. Your high temperature trend going forward, you'll notice still a lot of 70s. These are actually inland temperatures, at least for the next couple of days. So slightly cooler lakeside, but then we'll see that southwest and northwest wind kick in, keeping us right around average through the weekend and into early next week. But once we hit the middle of next week, that's when those temperatures look to climb into the 80s, and we may see some of that warmth then lingering on into the latter part of next week as well. So the temperature trend remains above average as we look ahead to the long range, as we just talked about. I do think we're very quickly going to see 80s next week. We'll see how long they stick around. So just gear up. A couple of cooler days in the 70s over the weekend, but then we are warming right back up.
Which is nice. It's good to be able to, feel like summer's kicking in.
Yeah.
Even if we
it's time.
Yes,
it's
exactly. We'd like to not have the smoke. That's obviously a downside, but at least it's going to trend upward. And when we talk about being above average, the actual average is ramping up too.
It is. We continue to climb. Remember, all the way through, what is it, early August, I believe? It's late July, early August, where we hit our highest average, which is 82.
Yep, 82.
So we're getting there, but averages right now, low 70s, and during this time frame will likely be to mid-70s.
I think the average high for the climate period is 74 today.
Okay.
So we're getting there. It's creeping up there. So above average means even more as the average itself keeps pushing that, kind of pushes the goal line farther and farther along, right?
Exactly.
Move the chains. Is that what they say in football? Move the chains?
You're asking the wrong person. What do they say in hockey?
Volleyball person.
Yeah.
We don't
no
know what
football
we're
here.
We'll stick to weather. I will continue to do the weather in just a little bit here on Wisconsin Weather Experts right now on Fox Local and, of course, the Fox 6 YouTube channel. Check it out.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for staying with us here on Fox Local, as well as our Fox 6 YouTube page. We have talked about so much in the last couple of weeks, especially with warming temperatures and pool safety. I mean, we are basically to summer now. We are in meteorological summer.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's time to start thinking in their summer mindset, getting that sunscreen and everything put together, not just the pool noodles and the flippers. And so as you head outside, you've got to be prepared. Meteorologist Lisa Michaels tells us how to stay safe from the dangers of the sun.
Well, skin cancer can impact everyone. It is one of the most preventable cancers. When spring and summer comes around, Wisconsinites take full advantage of being outdoors. From events around town to mowing the grass or walking and running around, spending a beach day down by the lake to grilling out with a brat and steak. But while vitamin D from the sun can be beneficial to your health, long-term exposure to dangerous ultraviolet rays can be deadly. During the months of May, June, and July, the sun is at its highest angle in the sky. The higher the angle, the stronger the sun's ultraviolet rays are. And long exposure to those ultraviolet rays can increase your risk of skin cancer, even if you don't burn and you just tan, and regardless of your skin color. According to skincancer.org, 1 in 5 Americans will develop skin cancer by the age of 70. More than 2 people die of skin cancer in the U.S. every hour. 5 or more sunburns doubles the risk of melanoma, and more people are diagnosed with skin cancer than any other cancer. So what can you do? Well, the first thing is do a monthly self-examination. We're going to step you through what to check because you want to examine your entire body from head to toe in a full-length mirror. You want to check your underarms, your forearms, and your palms. You want to make sure that you look at your legs, between your toes, and the soles of your feet. Use a hand mirror to examine your neck and scalp, and also use that hand mirror to check your back and your bottom. Now, you might be wondering, why do you have to check areas that typically don't get sun exposure or have never gotten burned? Well, there's something called hidden melanoma. It can develop in areas that have little to no sun exposure, and it can develop inside of your body too. Here's what you want to look for, because skin cancer is called the silent killer. It can grow without noticeable symptoms on any skin type. You want to follow the ABCDEs of melanoma. A stands for asymmetry. If you notice that a spot on your body is asymmetrical from one side to the other, you'll want to keep track of it. B stands for border. If the border is not defined or is irregularly shaped, you want to keep an eye on that mark on your body. C stands for color. If you notice that there's varying colors within a spot on your body, you want to keep an eye on that. D stands for diameter. Typically, skin cancer will form when it's the size of a pencil eraser or larger, but it can also form when it's smaller. And E is evolving. If you notice a spot on your body changing in size, color, or shape, you want to document that too. There are ways to decrease your risk of skin cancer. These include daily use of broad-spectrum sunscreen, wearing sun protective clothing like wide-brim hats, SPF shirts, UV blocking sunglasses, seeking shade whenever possible, conducting monthly self-exams, scheduling an annual dermatologist exam, and make sure your diet includes sources of vitamin D from foods or supplements.
And remember, SPF is your BFF. Don't forget to apply your sunscreen when you head outdoors.
I like that.
Oh, there you have
SPF
it.
is your BFF.
Something
There
to
you go.
keep in the back of your mind too. I mean, we've all been there. We've all had a burn, probably when we were, young adults.
And it can be a long-term problem.
Yeah.
Some little burn from an oopsie when you were 2 or 3 years old could come back to haunt you.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that Lisa pointed out, this is for all ethnicities, all skin tones. I don't know how many times over the years I've had someone say to me, oh, I'm Greek, or I'm this, or whatever.
Right.
It doesn't matter. The sun does not care. UV will burn. In fact, sometimes the darker pigmentation can lead to more problems, not in any chemical way, but because it can be difficult to spot without doing all of the steps that Lisa was very carefully laying out for you. If you don't pay attention, it's a little less obvious on some darker skin tones, which means a delayed diagnosis, which means delayed treatment, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, no matter where you're from, what your ancestry is, your ethnic background might be, do all the things that Lisa said, and SPF is indeed your BFF.
There you go.
I might just use that one all summer long.
I know. Keep that in.
My kids will find it
Back of your
cringy,
pocket.
but I think it's very worth saying over and over and over again. Now, as we know, we do this show here. We're starting a new program, or more of a new chat. We'll leave it at that, kind of a video podcast where I get to sit down with chief meteorologists throughout the region in Minneapolis, Chicago, and over in Detroit, and talk about what the Great Lakes and the upper Midwest have experienced weather-wise. We call it the isobar because we're just sitting around at the bar having a chit-chat. And of course, an isobar is a weather pun because that means an equal area of atmospheric pressure. Here's a little clip from this newest episode.
We'll go up to Minnesota first because you were the first to see things pop on that night.
Yeah, first into the show. And just as an aside, we were going to do this talk last week, And then the SPC forecast came out, and we were all like, yeah, we should probably get away from that. But, you know, we were first in line there. The tornado watch popped at around 12:45 in the afternoon, and our tornado warning started rolling fast and furious. It was a day. By the time we got through it, I was on the air for 4 straight hours. You know, as we call it, wall-to-wall coverage. And we actually ended up with a Doppler indicated tornado warning for downtown Minneapolis. And I was on the air using a velocity scope on the storm, and I actually said out loud, I don't like this.
Ian's seen a lot of severe weather. He's been up in Minneapolis for longer than I've been here in Milwaukee. So for him to say, I don't like this, that's a big sign of a problem. And of course it was. If you want to see the other 24 minutes of our podcast, our video podcast that we have dubbed the Isobar, you can find it on Fox Local right if you're done watching this live show. The easiest way is to just go search Isobar. That's ISOBAR. Or it is up on the Fox 6 YouTube channel as well. So if you want to get really deep into weather nerd stuff, that's what we're there for. So check it out.
It's always nice to check in with surrounding areas too, because we're close, but the weather can be different, and it's always interesting to check in to see how other areas are doing, you know, when it comes to rain or how it's impacting their viewers, and it's just fascinating. So good stuff.
Kind of like at the end of it, we go around and kind of give little shout outs to our favorite areas, you know, whether it's Minnesota or whatever, that we like to go at that time of year.
Oh, not your favorite coworkers? I thought that's where you were going with that.
Well, it would totally be you, for sure. I mean, you're standing right here. What else would I possibly say? But no, no, that too, maybe next time. But no, just like little ideas. So if you're ever traveling in Minneapolis, you're going down to Chicago, and you're like, oh, Chief Meteorologist Emily Wall loves to go to this little place on a rainy day. You can find that out there as well on the Isobar. All right, we've got a little bit more of this show to do before we start moving you on to that next show. Stick around. We'll be right back with more Wisconsin weather experts on Fox Local.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts. Today is June 6th, which holds a really important history for our nation and for the world.
Yeah, it's the 81st anniversary of D-Day, the invasion of Normandy, the beaches of Normandy. 150,000 Allied troops landed there on this date in 1944.
In Normandy, the Allied lightning strikes.
And so, of course, huge tribute today to all of those that stormed the beach and did the hard work of making that landing. Well behind the front, though, tribute is due to some somewhat lower key heroes that were working on the forecast for this invasion. So Captain J.M. Stagg, who's a British Meteorological Office meteorologist with the Royal Air Force, he had a small group of forecasters back in 1944, and they were directly advising the Supreme Commander, Dwight D. Eisenhower, in the day. And their first order of business was to delay. They pushed this whole thing back by 24 hours because there was poor weather. They had to do that, otherwise the storms would not have allowed them to make the landing and proceed with the attack. The Allied meteorologists actually were then very correct in their forecast for a very brief 24-hour period of what they dubbed tolerable weather on June 6, 1944. Otherwise, it was a pretty stormy time of year, very stormy in the seas, and there had to be the right tide to be able to make the landing properly. They used data from upper-level reconnaissance, so they had planes taking data. They actually were able to break the German code on some of the weather forecasts that they were given, so they had some data from that as well. And they also were just really good at doing their job and communicating with each other. One of the keys to victory there was that they incorporated forecasters from the UK, from Canada, from the US, all working together directly with the military planning team, so there was no loss of communication, and they were able to communicate what they knew, why they thought it would work, and of course proceeded with the attack. And had they not, they would have likely ended up in a storm, which then days later wrecked one of the temporary harbors that were built to enable this landing to happen. So that 24-hour window there was only able to happen because of these incredible forecasters who have not only done an amazing job and deserve to be celebrated on this day, but have also changed meteorology. Things like upper air data, things like just the way we incorporate team forecasting has all continued since that date, and of course only gotten better and better with the higher level of technology. So a day to definitely take pause and remember the amazing sacrifices and the amazing amount of science that went into winning that battle.
I mean, it was close. There was a lot of pressure, a lot of anxiety. I'm
I can't
sure.
even imagine. Yeah.
I couldn't imagine either. But it is a really, like you said, important day to actually go back and just look at all of the science and forecasting that went into that day.
And what
It's
they
just
did
incredible.
without the tools that we have today.
Right,
is
exactly.
so impressive indeed. So again, a moment to shout out to them and to think of them on this day. It is a smoky day today, like we said. That's probably going to be a thing for a while. We do have, of course, a big weekend coming up. You can see the Pride forecast. And behind me here, does look like right now the parade will be okay.
Yeah, bring rain
Sunday.
gear just in case, but
Good
it
point.
does look to be okay at this point.
Right,
So
and I'll be
fingers
down
crossed.
there in the parade, so say hi.
Yes,
a lot of
say
the
hi
FOX6
to all the
folks will be down there.
FOX6ers.
And we like to come out and say hi to everybody on Sunday. In the meantime, have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday for another edition of the Wisconsin Weather Experts.